every day of the week. When the world comes together, united as one, sharing stories through the eyes of InView TV. Through the eyes of, through the eyes of, through the eyes of InView TV.
Hi, welcome to InView TV and the Down the Track program. Tonight we have Phil Lamattina, driver of the Fuchs Lubricants, Carrot Kings and YBA Creative Top Fuel Dragster. Like a lot of top fuel drivers at the moment, Phil's excited about the new series that's coming up starting in January 2022, the Australian Top Fuel Championship. So we want to hear what Phil has to say about this, his thoughts on the new series, expectations, plans for the new series, and everything else he wants to tell us all about it. So let's bring Phil on. And remember, if you've got any comments, anything you want to ask Phil, put them in the Facebook comments now, and we'll get Phil to answer as many as we possibly can. Let's bring Phil on. Phil. Hi Phil, welcome to Down the Track on InView TV. How are you?
Yeah, g'day Bruce. Very well, thanks for having me.
Very good. Lovely to have you on the show. Got a lot to talk about. First, before we get into the drag racing, in these challenging times, we're going to quickly ask you, how are you and the family going?
Yes, family's going okay. We live in northern Victoria, so at the moment we're in regional lockdown. But when it comes to the business side of things, we're somewhat essential with the farm, and so we've been quite busy. But so it's just sort of business as usual for us on the farm. But other than that, we're all fairly well.
Great to hear. Great to hear. Okay, let's get into the racing side of things. Recently, there was an announcement of the new Australian Top Fuel Drag Racing Series, and then more recent, the calendar was announced. 6 events over 6 months, a minimum of 6 cars. 5 of the venues have been announced. The 6th one still yet to be announced. Tell us about your thoughts and expectations of this new series.
Well, I suppose it's a bit of a long-winded answer. I suppose if we had a lot more time, we could probably delve into it a little bit more. But I suppose the series itself has been sort of born from a frustration from the top fuel teams over, I suppose, a number of years, and culminating to in the last couple of months. But we got together a while ago as a category, decided that it's okay to sort of complain a little bit about the way things have been run. So we sort of come together and said, well, if the only shot that we've got at it without sort of complaining too much is if we have a go ourselves. So it's been great. The 4 teams got together in unison, and then we seeked out some help from originally Nathan Prendergast, and then he introduced us to Andy Lopez. So from there, weekly meetings via Zoom, obviously, and then the series was born itself, and we're just so excited to be able to partner with someone like Andy Lopez, with the Summer Nats fame and with his organisational skills, and hopefully bring that through to the category of Top Fuel.
Very good. So borne out a bit of frustration, but it looks like everyone's got together. The teams have certainly got together. They seem to be on board with this. You've brought in some outside influences, as in Andy and Nathan, both very, very good in their own right. We know Nathan with his V8 supercars, how good he's doing with that. Andy, as you said, Summer Nats. So it looks like everyone's teaming up together to make this series happening. From your side and your team side, what can we expect from Lamattina Top Fuel Racing Team?
So I suppose at the end of the day, the racing side of things never really changed for us. You know what I mean? So we're talking about what we needed to just sort of tidy up a little bit more was the ability for us as teams to attract sponsorship, to have a series that's very well ran. Also, too, if any sponsors wanted to be involved with our category, we wanted to have the opportunity to be able to bring them on board and channel that them funds into the cars, because obviously the cars, they're not cheap to run. And also, too, what we wanted to do is, rather than relying on the same teams and with the same cars, is to try and introduce other people into our category and into Top Fuel. So when it comes to LTFR, our goal at the moment is to obviously run my car, but then also too for the series itself, we've committed to running a second car when the need arises. And so at the end of the day, if it has to be the first round, it's going to be the first round. But at this stage here, we're piecing that crew and that team and that car together at the moment. And come January, we'll be ready to go.
Can you say who might be driver of the second car?
Oh, look, right at the minute, I'll have to keep that under wraps for now. There's a few people that have their hat in the ring, if you would call it that. There's also two. Yeah, well, the line and the queue starts to the left. So, obviously we've had some great drivers over time. Including my brother. He was. He drove that the second car and campaigned it for a number of seasons. So then we won a championship, with Callie and runner up in the second one. So look, there's some really awesome drivers out there, and then there's always the opportunity to give someone else a chance at a shot at driving Top Fuel.
Yeah, so you've certainly done that. I mean, you've had, as you said, John, your brother, in the car. Of course, Callie. I think Richie was in the car at some stage, wasn't he? Richie Crampton.
And
yeah, you've certainly given drivers an opportunity, which is great. It brings other people into the sport, as you said, and the more people we get driving a Top Fuel car, the better. Now, the calendar's been announced. I'll bring the calendar up. It's 6 events. The last event, round 6, hasn't been announced where that may be. There is some sort of speculation it may be in Darwin, maybe not. Not sure where Willowbank fits into that at the moment. But out of the 5 venues that's been announced, which track are you looking forward to the most to race at?
Look, for us personally, I would say as a family, when it comes to friends and family, which is very important to ourselves, our team, and of course the Lamattina family, would have to say Calder Park, because for that reason. For me, if I want to be selfish and talk about where I love to run the car, I would say the Perth Motorplex.
Okay. So why the Perth Motorplex? I mean, you mentioned why Calder, it's family. I think Fuchs is based down there as well, so that might be another reason. Perth Motorplex, why?
Just an absolute awesome venue. There's no other words to explain it. It's just an awesome venue itself, it's just awesome.
I'm from Perth, so I certainly love the Perth Motorplex. Looking forward to being back on the calendar in the Top Fuel Series. And you were there just last year, weren't you, racing with Peter Chibris?
Wow, we say last year, no, it was...
Was it last year? It was last year, 2020, I think. I think just before.
Yeah, sorry, just before the original. Yeah, when things turned went south, I suppose, when with COVID. But yeah, sorry, it was a very early 2020. That's right.
Um, so I asked this question to Andy when he was on the show last week. If you could describe this new series in 3 words, how would you describe it?
Well, the biggest drama, we haven't actually done anything yet, but the series itself is going to be.
Well, Andy mentioned that it's going to be not just the typical drag race that we've seen or drag racing event we've seen in the past. It's going to be a lot more engaging of the crowd, engaging of the fans. He's talked about fireworks and all that sort of stuff, music. So it sounds like it's going to be an event. It's going to be a show, and I think he described it. It's going to be something that you don't want to miss. It's one of those must-see events.
Yeah, like I'd agree. It's something that you'd have to be like it'd be just a, a must. How would you say it? You know, like you wouldn't want to miss it. Yeah, it's just something that you have to be at.
Okay, have to be at. That's 3 words. That'll do. Have to be at.
That's
all right.
it.
Just seeing if there's any comments coming through on Facebook. Yeah, here's one for you. I'll bring it up. This is from Drew. What's the plans for the 2022 live redesign?
Man. Good old Drew, eh? He actually designs it. The plans for the livery design. Well, as everyone knows, we continuously change our livery every season. So there's a couple that I'd like to bring back. The original car that we bought off Alan Johnson, that Darren Morgan campaigned when we first ran it. That's something a bit more nostalgic. And then also too, there's the the livery on the car that I had the second accident in. That obviously was very fresh and didn't really get many race meetings, but I think that was pretty awesome. But that's with with the Fuchs themed livery. The livery on the car at the moment with the Cara Kings is somewhat awesome. So a little bit more with something with a bit more of a blend, and so we're always keeping everyone guessing, and you run out of you run out of options sometimes, but always Drew and the boys at YBI seem to come through, so it's always exciting. So we'll keep everyone guessing, but definitely Fuchs and Carrots.
And I guess obviously livery on your car and a number of cars, and for the series itself, the branding across the series depends on what sponsors come on board. I know that's obviously going to be a big goal of the whole organisation across the Top Fuel, is to try and get some new supporters of the category, and so I guess branding across cars and across the series itself will be subject to hopefully some new supporters and new sponsors coming on board.
Well, hopefully that's what we're trying to achieve. Like I said, right across the board. At the moment, there's, all the teams at the moment are really pushing to make this as successful as possible. Obviously, we want to deliver, good racing and the spectacle of racing to, as many places as possible, to as many fans as possible, and not only to that, for new fans that and introduce them back into, Top Fuel and drag racing in general.
All right, I've got some more questions coming through on Facebook. One that's come through a lot is about support categories and what support categories are going to run under the series. What can you tell us about that? Are you aware of what support categories are going to be a part of it?
Obviously, we've discussed this, but at the end of the day, this is the reason. The reason behind going to someone like Andy Lopez is to be able to facilitate all that. At the moment, it's we're open for business. Andy's taking a lot of calls from a lot of different categories, and I would imagine at the end of the day he'll piece it all together and then present it to the teams, and then I suppose from there we'll see which what works for the different race meetings and how they're situated. And obviously we're piggybacking on the back of some established race meetings as well as our own. So at the end of the day, the opportunities are for everyone. We're open for business, and like I said, that's going to be completely up to Andy to take them phone calls and then present them to the teams, and then go from there.
I know Adam Layton's been commenting quite a bit. He's loving the idea of getting Harley Top Fuel motorbikes out as a support category. So who knows, that might be one of the options. Nitro cars and nitro.
Look, at the end of the day, what we're pushing for is obviously we need to make Top Fuel successful. And that's first and foremost. And then secondly, we'd like to bring any other opportunities for any other teams that want to, or individuals that want to come into the category. And we want to try and grow and not have to rely on the same teams, to deliver the cars at every race meeting. That's the first and foremost. After that, we want to be able to with that then comes the success to be able to put on the proper show, to be able to deliver the spectacle for the fans, because they're the ones, bums on seats, they're the paying punters that come through the gate that make us, to give us the opportunity to do what we do. And then from there, I think as it grows, first year our expectations are somewhat high but realistic, but our expectations for year two is for the series itself to grow also too in participants as well as the calendar, and to encompass some more venues. There's 2 or 3 more venues that we would like to be at that we're not going to be at the moment, but year two can see the series grow, and that's what it's all about for us.
All right, so you mentioned venues. This one's just come up on Facebook. This is about Willowbank from Michael Rollinson. When is Willowbank ever going to see Top Fuel again? Assuming it's not.
Well, that's going to be up to that's up to Willowbank, really. At the end of the day, we were there at the Winter Nationals, and we've been there, hundreds of times before that. So at the end of the day, it's what's best for the series at the end of the day. And if Willowbank is best for the series, I suppose we'll be there. But that's up to. It's a little bit past my pay grade at the moment, but we'll get the powers to be from Willowbank and talking to Andy, and the communication there is still open. Obviously, if they want us there, we'll be there.
We had some questions last week coming in on Facebook, directed at Andy, and we're getting some questions very similar coming through at the moment, regarding Calder and Heathcote Park being up to spec for Top Fuel. What's your thought? I mean, I guess it's probably fair to say it's not quite up to spec at the moment, though I don't know. I haven't been to either track in a long time. So are those tracks up to spec, or is it just a case the expectations are they will be when the season rolls around?
Yeah, well, that's basically in a nutshell. Obviously, we're not going to race anywhere that's not safe. Okay, so at the end of the day, the expectations from the category itself, Heathcote and Calder Park are fully aware of the situation, and also to what they need to have in place for us to be able to compete there. Peter Pisolides at Calder Park's working very hard, but I suppose the guy that's working probably the most hardest at the moment is Lance Warrant from Heathcote, and at the end of the day, he's making some guarantees that the work that needs to be done will be done, and if that is the case, we'll be there. It's as simple as that. But at the end of the day, if they're not, at the end of the day, the sanctioning body has to sign off on the safety aspects of any racetrack. So if they give us the tick of approval, we'll be there.
That's great. And I'm assuming, as you said, the tracks are going to go 100% to be ready, because they definitely want to be part of this series. let's hope that's the case. We can see what Lance has done with Heathcote in such a short period of time. It's been quite amazing, and I believe there's quite an effort going on at Calder Park for them to be ready as well. Before we go, we're going to wrap it up shortly. Phil, before we do, is there any last comments, anything you want to share with drag racing fans around the country before you go?
I suppose at the end of the day, you know, everyone just needs to be a little bit patient. At the end of the day, we're dealing with COVID at the moment, and as soon as that can sort of, we can move past that and become a little bit more back to normality, we can get back to some drag racing. And for us as a category, all we want to do is just make our category great again, and by doing that, you know, we want to try and get a calendar out there that's you know, possibly, you know, the best that we've hopefully ever seen. We want to put on a show for the fans, and like I said, we just want to continuously grow our category and introduce more people into it as much as possible. And by that, unfortunately, that needs to we need to have a series that you know, is ran well and a well-oiled machine. And if we can do that and bring some more sponsorship into the category as well, and share that around and make the job just that little bit easier, yeah, that's all we can do. And I suppose, you know, over the years we've seen that when sort of Top Fuel is healthy, drag racing's healthy.
Yeah, great words indeed. I've heard you use the word a number of times tonight, and Andy did last week as well. Growth. So at the moment we're starting with 6 cars, minimum 6 cars, 6 events, 6 tracks, and you're all talking about growth. So it sounds like 2022 is going to be very exciting, but then the years beyond that even more so, as it grows to larger events, or more events I should say, perhaps more cars and perhaps more tracks. So we're looking forward to 2022, and we're also looking forward to the years beyond that. Thanks,
yeah,
Bill.
very much so. Not a problem. All right, well, thanks for having me on the show, Bruce, and we'll catch up next time.
Thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you on the track in January, and we're looking forward to getting you back on Down the Track on our show. Thanks for joining us.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for joining us again on Down the Track tonight. That was Phil Lamattina. Some interesting comments from Phil. Great guy, great driver, great team. Looking forward to seeing them out on the track next year. And as you heard, at some events they may even have 2 cars racing. So that's going to be exciting. Join us again this coming Thursday. So we got Phil Reed from the Jim Reed Racing team joining us, and he's going to give us his thoughts on the new series. So we're looking forward to that. So stay tuned to InView TV and our Down the Track program. Keep the comments coming. We'll ask Phil the same sort of questions that you've got for him, Phil Reed that is, on Thursday. So looking forward to seeing you then. Thanks for joining us.